how's it going? My name is Carl, aka Carl Drum Tech, and today I am going to give you my top 5 tips on how to play and drum faster. So, tip number 5. Basically, you want to play everything and master everything at a slower tempo before taking it up to a faster tempo. And you're probably asking, what the heck? Like, why would I play slower if I want to play faster? Well, too often do we use faster tempos as a way to, kind of maybe hide our mistakes, play something that we're not comfortable with and just kind of just get through it and just put everything in there and just, there you go. But, it's like we want to make sure that we have a full grasp of what we're playing, have it really comfortable in our hands at a slower tempo. Make sure that we get the high quality, because when it comes down to it, if we play something a low quality at a slower tempo, chances are all the crap that you're doing at that slow tempo and all the mistakes you're making, it's going to show up in the faster tempo. Maybe it's not as detectable. Maybe you play it and it goes right by. Maybe some people won't notice it, but the errors are still there. So you want to make sure you correct all the mistakes. Get it up to a high quality. And then, speed it up as you go. And then, as you get more comfortable with it, you're definitely going to get comfortable with it. Playing fast, the high quality is definitely going to stay with the faster tempos. So that is my 5th tip, which is, my number 5 tip, which is basically you want to get what you're playing comfortable at a slower tempo. So tip number 4 is going to be you understanding what your hinge points are. So what do I mean by that? Well, when you drum, you have basically about 3 different hinge points. You have your finger hinge points, right? You have your wrist hinge points, and then you have your arm hinge points. You want to make sure you understand which hinge point you're using, at a faster tempo. So for example, right? So for singles, you want to use more finger. So use more of your finger hinges, not so much your arm or your wrist. I mean, you can use your wrist. Okay, but definitely not arm. Okay, it looks very stiff, right? It doesn't, it's just not practical to play at that speed. But if you're playing fast rolls, right, you want to make sure you're using more of your arm hinges. You definitely don't want to just, right, use your fingers or use your wrist. It's just, in that case, it's not practical. So understanding which hinge point you're using is key to playing whatever it is you're playing faster. So like I said, if you're playing singles, you want to use more finger and more wrist. But if it's like a roll that you want to play fast, you want to use more of your arm. Okay? Alright, number 3 tip on how to play and drum faster. So basically, you want to make sure that you lower your heights. So when it's slow, right, you can play something, with a good height, really high. But if it's faster, it's kind of not practical to do that. I mean, look at it this way. Here's my favorite example I like to give students. If I were to tell you to run from one block, okay, one end of the block to the other end of the block in, let's say, 5 seconds. It's probably not going to happen even if you run your absolute fastest. Now, what if I were to reduce somehow the distance of that block to maybe like a couple feet? Then at that point, you have ample enough time to make it from one end of the block to the other because there's less distance. Well, it's the same thing with heights, right? So if you're going from here to here, right, that's a big distance. If it's slow, right, which is tempo is based on space and how long it takes from here to here, right, you can totally make that in time. But if it's faster, where you have less time to get from here to here, it's not as practical. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to decrease the space. Like I was talking about with the distance of the block, you want to somehow decrease the distance of the block, and then now it's more doable to get from point A to point B. Alright, tip number 2, and for me, it's pretty huge once I realized this. I remember when I was teaching and I had students who were playing faster than me, and right, I didn't get it. I'm like, I have students who are playing faster than me. How is this possible? And basically, I made the realization that I was playing things, I used to play things, I used to hit the drum very hard. Like, for example, I play triple diddle like. And I mean, you can only go so fast doing that. But if you kind of lighten up and not hit the drum so hard, Okay, and it's a lot more practical to be able to do that. So that's a kind of self-explanatory tip, and that's tip number 2. Basically, do not hit the drum as hard. And finally, tip number 1. My number 1 tip on how to play faster: relax. That is huge. Too often do we try to play fast and we tense up, the shoulder muscles, and it just starts to turn into it's super tight, and it just like everything tenses up. Your neck veins are popping out. We don't want any of that. So basically, my number 1 tip is to just relax. Like, let the arms hang down from your shoulders really loose, right? I mean, just like with anything else, if you're trying to do things with speed, like, for example, just running, I mean, there is a point where you have to tense up and use those muscles. Absolutely. I'm not saying, at all that, you should like completely relax. That's not going to happen either. There is a point where you do have to flex the muscles and use them to be able to play at that speed. But wherever you can relax and chill out and just let your arms hang out, you're just going to be that much better off for it in order to play faster. So otherwise, there you have it. That's my top 5 tips on how to play and drum faster. Hopefully you find this helpful for your playing and your drumming. And you might have your own list. You might order them in different kind of priorities. But this is what definitely works for me. And so try it out and see if it helps you. And if you do try it out, please, I would love to hear your feedback. Please comment in the comments. If you have any questions, you can also leave them in the comments as well. And like I said, hopefully this was helpful for you. And I guess I'll see you guys on the next video. So thanks so much if you've been watching. I'll see you guys next time.